But I got a specialty dessert that's real good. I can make it.
You gotta
nice
get her there first.
Oh, I can get her there.
So I thought I'd do something a little different with this recap episode. I will recap the Tampa Bay Montreal game from Sunday, but I'm also going to talk some good news about Team Canada and the Four Nations face-off. Also going to talk about some pretty bad news about Montreal. But first off, let's talk about the recap between Montreal and Tampa Bay. If Montreal were to win this game, they would be 5 points out of a playoff spot. Can they do it? Can they beat Tampa Bay again this season to move on, get those 2 points, and move into the 6th spot in the wild card race? Let's talk about it. So the Montreal Canadiens were in Montreal. I was going to say Tampa, but they were in Montreal on Sunday to play the Tampa Bay Lightning. Another important game, but what does that really mean at this point? There's been a lot of disappointing play from Montreal, and the fans are worried, of course, that they're going to be disappointed again. It's not so much that they're losing games, but the way that they're losing games is disappointing. I had a disappointing weekend. That's why I'm putting out this video late. My washer backed up. The drain for the washer was spitting out water in the crevice of the wall. It's also been leaking back there, apparently. I had to cut a hole in the drywall. It's a mess. Had to file an insurance claim. It's very stressful. If you want to make me feel better, hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. Like the video, helps me with search results or something like that. And don't forget to comment as well. So in order to recap this game, we have to start where we always start, and that's by going over the lineup. So we had Caulfield, Suzuki, Slavkovsky, Newhook, Doc, Anderson, Gallagher, Dvorak, Beck, Laine, Evans, Armia. So Anderson, Beck, and Laine are still in those different roles. You see a lot of Anderson this game. Beck shows up too, and Laine does have a better game. On defense, we have Matheson, Hudson, Struble, Carrier, Jack-Eye, Savard, and finally in net is Dobesh. I'm like reliving this game as I'm going over the lineup. I'm going to try to recap this game quick so we can touch on the other subjects. You've probably already gotten the recap for this game already, right? So the game starts off. Montreal seems to have a lot of good energy, and it looks like they're going on the power play. Radish takes a hooking call on Patrick Laine. Problem is, it's going to be an offsetting penalty because the referee claims that Laine is holding on to Radish's stick. I see this a lot. I see the individual embellishing the hold essentially, but they're never called for embellishing and they're never called for holding. So it is what it is. On the ensuing 4-on-4, Montreal gets a lot of good chances, and I think this came on the 4-on-4. Anderson gets essentially an open net and he just rockets the puck into outer space for some reason. So Montreal's looking really good at the start of this game. They're pouring it on. They're getting more shots than Tampa Bay. And then
Braden Point lost the puck though. There's Slavkovsky. He'll play it away. Turnover though. Hagel down low. Backhand try. Score. What?
Nick Paul makes it 1-0 for Tampa Bay when Slav passes to the inside of Caulfield's skates. No one is home to defend. They're all suspecting that they're going on the rush, and Paul gets an easy deke around Dobesh. So you're hoping that they hold it together because really they're playing better than Tampa Bay at this point. They're set up in Tampa's zone. Hudson is trying to regain puck possession. He goes for a poke check on Victor Hedman. He then gets caught flat-footed as Hedman moves past him. Struble isolates himself on one side of the ice. There's 4 Tampa Bay players coming up the ice. Essentially what happened with Struble is he managed to cancel out 2 of the Tampa players, but the 2 others were essentially on a 2-on-0.
Elvis, across, shot, score!
So again, Dobesh gets hung out to dry. It is 2-0 Tampa Bay. Hedman scores. Montreal continues to pour it on. They continue to look a lot better than Tampa Bay.
Caulfield jumps on the ice. Caulfield back. Suzuki, wrist shot, big block, rebound. Caulfield in the crease. Oh, what a stop and tight.
They get 2 or 3 opportunities in the offensive zone. Caulfield blows an open net tap in when he manages to hit Cirelli. I think this was Cirelli. We then see Matheson, Devo, and Gallagher pouring it on. I mean, Montreal looked really good basically the entire way through this game. We then see Carrier get the puck up high. He has to leave, get stitched up. He does come back later in the game. Then Anderson, this happens a lot this game, by the way. Anderson drives in, gets to the front of the net, isn't able to put it in, gets another opportunity, and was hooked on the way to the net. so he's afforded a penalty shot.
Games versus Vasilevsky. And what a chance here in a 2-0 game. Josh Anderson in, shot, and he shot.
On the penalty shot, he misses the net. This is just more of the same from Anderson. If he would have scored on half the opportunities he had in this game, the Habs would have had 7 goals. Darren Radish takes a high sticking penalty against Slavkovsky. And finally, after all their effort,
line brings it in, drops it off. Gallagher, wrist shot, score!
Brendan Gallagher gets rewarded on the power play. Newhook and Matheson helping out on that one. The first line power play is still getting skunked, but they did look better this game. So it is 2-1 Tampa Bay. They're going into the second period. You think that Montreal is going to go in with a lot of momentum for that first goal, but Matheson takes a penalty right at the end of the period. A 2-minute minder for interference on Hagel. That's going to do it for the first period, though. Tampa Bay go into the second period with a power play. It's 12-5 for shots for Montreal. The second period, puck drops, still on the power play. Braden Point.
Ice right now. Puck in front. Braden Point, score.
Makes it 3-1 for Tampa. And Dobesh fell here. He missed his edge on his left skate, lost his balance. He lost his ability to get to the other side of the net. And it just all falls apart for Dobesh. He's gone. Montembeault comes into the game. Montembeault makes a couple of good saves, but not long after, honestly, this happens.
We have to extend the video to see your Selly, though. It was outstanding. Just jumped into the glass. Look out. Pass in front. Score.
Savard and Xhekaj get caught out of place, and nobody pinches to stop Girgensson from scoring on Montembeault. But the Habs do respond. Dvorak makes it 4-2.
Behind Vasilevsky. Dvorak. Wrist shot. Score.
This line with Dvorak, Gallagher, and Slav, maybe just keep Slav with Dvorak and Gallagher. They were really showing something. Basically, Slav got demoted because of the flub in the first period that led to that first goal. So now that's the end of the second period. Shots are 22-14, I believe, for the Habs. They're really outplaying them. It's just, I guess you could say maybe the goaltenders let them down a little bit. But also the forwards that you expect to get goals are not getting goals, but they do get another goal, and it's from a forward that you would not expect. Well, you wouldn't necessarily expect it.
Line right around that Oiler game as well. Gallagher, wrist shot, score!
Gallagher makes it 4-3. They're getting close. They're within 1 now. Great effort here by Gallagher, by the way. We're getting down to the final minutes. They pull Montembeault. Line gets set up for a one-timer, but he didn't put enough mustard on it. They get a couple of more opportunities, but ultimately the puck makes its way to the other side of the rink. Hudson makes a really good effort to try to keep the puck out of the net, making 2 brilliant saves, but Cirelli puts it in. It's 5-3 Tampa, and that's how it would end. A little bit of a heartbreaker. Another loss at home. What is that? 7 in a row? 8? Excuse me. They lost 8 out of their last 9. Yeah, that's rough. And then how should I segue? Should I start talking about the Four Nations, or should I continue talking about Montreal? It makes sense that I continue talking about Montreal, right? Well, I have what I consider to be pretty bad news, or at least pretty bad hints towards the news. Earlier in that game, Pierre Lebrun had mentioned that it's not close with Jake Evans and the organization. It doesn't sound like they're going to be able to make a deal. And when being interviewed, Jake Evans said, "It's been an honor. It's such a fun place to play. It's a great place to live. I've just really enjoyed it. It's truly an honor. There's so much tradition here. So many great players that have worn this jersey with pride." That sounds pretty final. Either this is coming from a place where, he's feeling like he's getting traded. It sounds like there might be a trade that's going to be put through. And I don't understand it, honestly. If this happens, I truly don't understand it. They're going to try to find a replacement for Jake Evans. He has the history with the team. If you look at his stats, they should be able to get him at the right price. This year is an outlier. If Jake Evans and his agent is trying to make a case for this year to count towards equivalence or comparables, yeah, I could see Kent Hughes turning down something like that. But that's on them. The thing is, I think that in the market currently, somebody might give Jake Evans what he wants. Is he going for like 5 and up? Yeah, I don't know. So what can Montreal expect to get for Evans? A second round pick? I think that's what's being floated around by Friedman.
I think a second round pick, I think, is what he'd like to get. And I think the same goes for Armia. And there's a few teams out there. Armia doesn't get the same amount of attention, but there's a few teams out there.
Well, what does a second round pick mean to Montreal right now? I don't think that means a whole lot. We've got tons and tons of prospects. They need to be making hockey trades right now for players that are tested and true. Maybe individuals that are still developing, but have shown on the black and white numbers that they're very viable in the NHL and can produce at hopefully a second line level. So I'm picturing in my head, I'm putting my GM hat on. I'm trying to trade Evans as part of a package deal for somebody that we could use right away. But am I missing the big picture here? What's next season going to look like? Is it going to be Doc again on line 2? They're obviously hoping that line A produces at a line 2 level. Demidov is going to be in the picture, and I suspect that he's going to be able to take a spot on the top line fairly quickly. Excuse me, I said the top line. I think a top line is what I meant. But characters like Newhook and Dvorak, even Armia, I don't know what their usefulness can continue to be if they keep trending towards, moving on from their players like Evans. And I can't help but feel like next season is going to get off to a shaky start. But you have to make plays. You have to make changes, continue to improve. And they've talked about not selling their future for a quick payoff, but we're getting such an abundance of prospects that we have a lot of players that do the same thing. So I guess time will tell what they're going to do. I'm excited to see what happens. It's going to be a very interesting trade deadline, and it's going to be an interesting offseason. It's also going to be an interesting training camp, and I'm going to be here going over it all. So please, again, subscribe. The last thing is Team Canada for the Four Nations face-off met today in Brassard. They had some time on the ice, and the good news, really good news, is Captain Sidney Crosby was out there playing with the guys. It looks like they had a good time out there. They got down to business, and we got to look at what the lines are going to look like, and wait till you hear what power play 1 is going to look like. So we have Reinhart, McDavid, Marner, Crosby, McKinnon, Stone, Marchand, Point, Jarvis, Hagel, Cirelli, Bennett. Konechny wasn't there because he's sick. I assume it's kind of like flu-like symptoms. On defense, Taves, Makar, Morrissey, Parayko, Theodore, Doughty, and then Travis Sanheim as an extra. But just look at power play 1. Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, Sam Reinhart, and Cale Makar. Oh my God, I can't even imagine the anxiety you would experience as a goaltender trying to kill the penalty with those guys taking shots at you. But that's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. It's been a rough couple of weeks, but we'll make it by. We're making it by. Like the video, it helps me out with search results or something. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I'd love to have you. And as always, I'll see you down below in the comments.